Ms. Hammarsing, thank you so much for joining us for this interview. So, I want to start like talking about your introduction to music. Everyone's read about you in papers about you going to Berklee and stuff, but how were you? What was your introduction to music before Berklee, back when you were small?
Thanks for being here today. I, like most people my age, growing up in Shillong, music was a big part. Music was a big part. Everyone played guitar. Everyone knew rock music. So it's just natural at that time. Every social gathering ended up with a sing song. So as a kid, you see your parents. My dad was also, loved playing guitar. He was a great singer. So it was everywhere. So guitar is one of the first things that any young kid wanted to learn growing up in like the 80s, 90s, Shillong. Then my cousins also, elder cousins were like in bands and they used to get together and play. So I was just naturally like drawn to it. And I started learning through my cousin, and then my dad also taught me. Then I was in St. Edmunds, there Creation Week, the all those activities, the school play. I was part of the. We did robbing the hood. It's like a take on Robin Hood. So that was then, yeah. And I loved playing guitar. It was always mine was always on something else than studies. Then I went to Bangalore, where I still continued playing guitar in school plays and school functions. Then actually, when I went to Delhi and I went to St. Stephen's, and I kind of took it more seriously then. So we formed a band called Soundcheck 42, which was the Stephen's band. So we used to
Okay.
go and do all these competitions. So that was when I started really enjoying it. And then I was studying economics. Didn't like economics at the time, so I said I got to do something else. My Since there's all you guys all Stephanians are going to be
Yeah.
making this for Stephanians, right?
Yeah.
So there was our block tutor at the time, Rudra North. He was a musician who had come back from. His name was Nauzer Daruwala, and he was a musician.
Okay.
And he had gone through, I think, Trinity College and then Harvard, and then, so he was kind of linked to Berklee, trying to get students to go there. So he used to watch me play. He didn't really like rock music, but maybe he thought I was like maybe good. And then we spoke. I wasn't really great. I didn't study hard. Let's not say I was. My mind was more focused on like everything else other than my academics. But then I made a deal with my parents that yeah, finish economics and then you can go to Berklee. So landed up in Berklee.
So yeah, once you reached the US, you started a band called Mon Khmer. So I've been trying to dig up a little on Mon Khmer. There's not much that I could find. So can you describe, what this project of yours was and what kind of genres you
Yeah.
played?
Um, so when I was in suddenly landed up in Berkeley, Boston, I was like, "What the hell am I doing here?" Everyone's like an amazing musician, and it's like, "How did I land up here?" So, and you started, you get into the groove of it. I used to play with a lot of bands and everything, and it's just this feeling that I'm not. Everyone had their own thing. Everyone had their own sound and everything. So I was like, yeah, I need to also find something. And after I finished Berkeley, I moved to New York. And it was in New York where you start, then you're like no longer in college. So it's like, what do I want to show? What do I want to share with things? So started this band, started in Boston, but in New York is when other guys moved to New York from Berkeley, and then so I founded Mon Khmer. So Mon Khmer means the family of languages which Khasi is a part of. So I was like, yeah, and I also wanted the music to have something linked to where I'm from. So there's the song Birthplace. If you listen to it, it's actually a Khasi beat. And then I use that same beat in my later project now, Daminat. So Mon Khmer There's not much, but at that time it's so long ago. But we were almost like signed to some big labels. But we were like really maybe we were too like artsy. Or we were like we don't want to sign with that big label. We don't want to be part of. We want to be with the cool, the underground scene. So yeah, that's what happens. You try to be too cool. Later, people can't find what you've done. But I'm planning on just putting out all the stuff we recorded on Spotify because I'm listening to bands these days. I'm like, damn, they sound like Mon Khmer. Yeah, so Mon Khmer has always been there. When I moved to New York, I was really lucky. My first gig was playing for Albert Hammond Jr. From the Strokes. So that took up a lot of gave me a lot of experience, and I got to tour. My first tour was when we opened for Coldplay. So it was like crazy. And then, but every time I came back, I was like, yeah, playing music. I was like, I was young then. So I was like, I don't care about arenas. I want to play in small clubs and show my own music. So I kept Mon Khmer alongside the entire time.
So you've collaborated with another member of the Strokes, Julian Casablancas, and in 2017 with your other project Exhibition, you released a single featuring him. So how did that come to be? How did you end up meeting him? How did you end up working with him for this project?
Actually, through football. He loves playing football. I also love playing football, and we were playing Primavera Festival in Barcelona with Albert Hammond. The Strokes are like the main headliners. So we started playing football, soccer, and then became really good buddies. So I used to show him my stuff. The exhibition, I was like, oh, let me do something else because Mon Khmer, everyone was thinking, everyone was doing their own projects, the other members. So with exhibition, I put together some new musicians. And then I used to send him stuff, and then he was like, I love this. And he said, I'll sing on it. So I was like, yeah, whatever, I don't believe you. But he sent it to him, and then he said, come to my place. And then we went one night. It was stormy winter night. Almost got stuck in a snowstorm, then recorded the vocals at his place. And then he released the EP on his label, Cult Records.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's a strange guy, a good guy.
So that's a very big thing that you're telling us about. That it just so happens to come through football, which is another thing that Northeast and particularly Shillong really loves.
But we just play football. Not like in any.
So now we're on to Dominot. You're back at Shillong, and you're trying to approach a new route with your music. Like you're trying to go back to the traditional sounds, the traditional instruments. So why choose this path? Why now?
It started when I was in New York. So that's the thing. You look at an American. He plays blues. It's from his land. It's his music. I'm not saying that only Americans should play blues. But look at jazz. These things came out of America. It's part of the history. It's part of the cultural evolution of the society. So similarly, I was thinking then, like, yeah, a guy can be really good at playing jazz. It's his thing. So I was like, I'll show him a Khasi rhythm. So then it started from that. Then when I came back, I had the chance finally to dive deep into it, and I believe that it's needed. You should create new forms. You have a foundation. Like Khasi beats, if you listen to them, are the coolest beats. They're like rock and roll beats. They're also like super primal but super advanced. Sound of the tangmuri. Besides that, you have like so much to sing about. And that's what the whole world is searching for, actually. You can't sing the same old love song and play the same old thing. It's fine. That's just for selling records. But if you want to further enrich the world with new sounds and new ideas, then that's why we're lucky here. We can there's so much to sing about. We sing about Lom Sop at Beneng.
Yeah.
So someone will be, what the hell is Lom Sop at Beneng? But then you'll find out so much about it. It'll be that beat, that beat's so cool. That's a Khasi beat. So that whole journey is like now making sense. Because I also appreciate things maybe more than people hear. They're like, I'm tired of hearing that. But I say, oh no, I'm never tired of hearing that. I want to hear more of it.
Yeah. So our city, Shillong, is often referred to as the rock capital of India. So this is mainly due to like a lot of influx of Western music in the 20th century. So do you have an opinion on why so many of musicians from Shillong they're not only influenced by this sort of music, but they're also kind of obsessed with it. That till today they're still playing the same tunes. They're still playing Brian Adams, Sum of
Yeah.
'69. They're still playing Scorpions and so on. You know.
Um, yeah, because Shillong is the capital, the British capital. Western influences are huge here. And we're lucky, but we shouldn't be like tied to them, like in the 21st century. So that's why Damina also, I play guitar, but I play it in a Khasi way. I'm still using modern instruments. We're not trying to just go back into some distant past, and you can't do that. It's more about so it's time now. I don't think people they just got comfortable with it. It comes very naturally.
Okay.
So when things come naturally, you end up you don't. We tend not to. We want to play really well, but we don't spend as much time trying to create something of our own. So I think maybe we've gotten too used here to like I can play the solo and I'll get that gig and people will dance and it's also music isn't yet a source of livelihood where you can sell records.
Yeah.
So I think maybe those are the factors. But I think it's changing now. A lot of new artists are like using the topics are more grounded here, but they're still universal and the sounds also taking some of these traditional sounds. So I think the next your generation, the generation, it's gonna I see it happening. It's nice. I think there's gonna be a like a renaissance, music renaissance here. What has been done is done, and you should always respect that.
Yeah.
But you need to keep searching,
You need to keep searching, keep moving
searching,
on.
and challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone's unhappy, but no one writes a protest song here. Like, come on, you should just post on Facebook or something. Write a damn good song.
So, these days there are a lot of musicians, young artists, they're playing gigs around the city. But I feel they're also a bit too comfortable in just, playing cover songs.
Yeah.
They're not challenging themselves to, experiment with something
Yeah.
new and original. So, what is your opinion on that?
But they are like I think a lot are still doing that because it's a way to learn. So you should start by learning as many songs,
Yeah.
but then you start showing your own songs. So in a set, it should always be like 50% original, 50% thing, and the audience also should start appreciating that. No? Out here, people drink or I don't want to play Summer '69. This person's trying to do something different. But look at Meba Ophelia, Dapist, then there's Dathan May, my friends Dathan May. Daminod is also, but there are bands that are changing.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen. The people will say, no, I want to hear it. There's Mokuri, Amabel Susni, she does a lot of interesting stuff. There's so the artists are there, but generally it also depends. If you're going to entertain in a bar, that's fine. You're going for that. But maybe you should also play gigs where you're like saying, "Come watch me play my thing." So there needs to be a support system, and you can't rely only on the government. Like in New York, New York's the center of the world, so it's like all these clubs and abandoned warehouses, like shows in all these someone's apartment. So that allows people to express themselves. Here, it's come play in Cloud9, play in Evening Club. It's pay to get in. Young people don't have money.
Yeah.
They don't have money to pay $300 to see someone sing. Could be the worst thing. But if it's just a place where someone's house and they're saying, "Yeah, come in, bring your own booze," and watch these new artists. So that's something I think in Bombay, the big cities, that culture is there. But in Shillong, I don't think it's there yet. It might take time. Comes with the process of urbanization. Shillong becomes more of a city.
So, I got in touch with Baruri Walang as well, and he told us that, back in the days when he was performing with Great Society, there used to be these fates in Shillong where, they used to go around performing covers and stuff.
Yeah.
and they'd have like a set list, the
Yeah.
same 30 songs. They
Yeah.
might have to play the same song
Yeah.
over
Twice.
10 times. And he told me that, they experiment with that same song in different ways. So that was another thing that kind of stood out to me, that back then, like, this was like a sort of a platform for them.
It was. I remember those feats.
Yeah. So, but nowadays we don't really. He said, he himself told us
Yeah.
that we don't have the faith culture here in
Yeah.
Shillong anymore, and the platform is like kind of struggling.
It's true.
And while the government is making efforts with the Meghalaya
NGs,
grassroots
yeah.
project, there's still a lot of changes to be made. So, what do you think can be done about to create platform for younger artists to come up?
Those fates were, as a kid, all I remember is fate, but they were dangerous. So the band also, you could get beaten up. Play badly, you might get beaten up. That, I mean, now I don't. I'm not saying you should. I'm not propagating violence.
Yeah.
But there's an element of like, so you have to be. It was different. Now everything is too easy. Also, so it's like, oh, the government will do this. But music is not supposed to rely on the authorities. Not, but don't get me. I'm not an anti-system guy. I'm saying, but you need to feel rebellious and like go, and so the fate was something which I, I remember very clearly. All the bands that used to play there used to play everywhere, including Mojo, Rudy's band. Um, so what can be done now today? I think it has to come from the youth culture. The youth have to, it's something that, and it should not be only in one center. There'll be the traditional folk kind of music, there'll be the hip hop people, there'll be the K-pop people, and you all, but it can only be generated by the youth.
Okay.
And then some oldies will help, but because the youth, you're doing it with passion, and so it has to come. And money shouldn't be. You can't think about money. Most of the musicians I know, majority of the musicians in the states were doing IT jobs on the side, graphic design, bartending. I used to bartend, work in restaurants. Obviously, there you earn a lot when you work in a restaurant or in a bar. Only those guys you see on the magazines and the newspapers and the big websites are the guys who are.
Yeah.
But majority of the guys, you go and tour with Coldplay like us, and then the next, when you come to New York, you have to do some small job to things. So that's something people think like, I have to make it. I have to make it. No, it's not. You can't think money only, but you have to create a system. So the youth, you guys,
Yeah. So life of an artist is always a struggle, especially financially. So, especially in this day and age where modern technology has kind of helped, artists, it's made it easier for artists to create music, but at the same time, it's also made it more competitive for them,
yeah,
So, especially now that with the rise of streaming and the death of physical media such as cassettes, CDs, vinyls, um, there's not really a sustainable source of income coming from playing music anymore, especially when
yeah.
Spotify pays pennies for every streams. So, what would you say to the younger artists to, like, inspire them to go on in spite of like this sort of recession in a way?
My advice would be try to be good at a lot of things and be organized. So alongside, you can start your own little labels. Um, people make money only by touring. So you have to start touring. You have to create a circuit in India and playing shows, sell your merch. People do all sorts of creative things. Now I don't know what's going on. It's like everyone's making TikToks and videos. So I don't know if they're monetizing that. I don't know because I am too old to do it well. I don't feel like doing it. So I don't know how. Maybe now there are new things that are allowing artists to monetize their craft. But ultimately, if you play well and you have like a good show together, then you tour, and that's where you make the money. And Another thing is there shouldn't be this thing of like selling out and all that. I don't even know. Today, I think there's no concept of selling out. Everyone's like, but back then we were like, oh no, we won't give our music to that film or to that company. No, give it unless it's like some really bad, goes against humanity or something.
Yeah.
Then don't do it. But you have to earn by being a little bit business minded, and but most important is your craft. You can make like great videos on Instagram and entertain everyone, but if you can't put together a good 1 hour show, you'll not last. So ultimately, you have to hone your craft. I don't know, Spotify these days also people can hear you in some corner of the world. Yeah, but yeah, it's true.
So another question I want to ask you is this: so we're living in a post-colonial nation where a lot of people in country are still struggling to find our identity, especially here in Shillong. We talked about how we have a lot of Western influences and how we're also still trying to keep in touch with our roots. So, in a way, do you think that your like this project of yours that you have right now, Daminot, that your incorporation of traditional Khasi sounds, Khasi music, like, do you think it would inspire younger artists to like pick up and pursue this particular sound in the future and not and stray away from the Western sounds?
Definitely want to inspire is like one of the main things. But it's not only for the youth, it's like for everyone. We sing about things that and words that most Khasis don't know or they've forgotten. So everyone's very intrigued by it. Um, I wouldn't say don't do this or do it. Do both. That's what people all over the world do.
Yeah.
A Japanese guy, he knows Japanese language, Japanese art, and he also goes and learns the blues and hip hop, whatever. So here we tend to just keep being too much on the western side in the cities. I don't not in the rural areas. We go into the rural areas, you see they sing songs, but they sing it in Khasi with their own dialect, and it's there. It's only in Shillong where we tend to be very uh, English Western, but that's a benefit. But the other side should be there also.
Yeah.
Then you're like fully grounded. It's a balance. Yeah, and I want bands. See, my goal dream is like how Bhangra, tanga, 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 tanga. The Singlanti, dum, dum, tang, dum, tang, tang, tang. There should be like in the whole world, they know, oh, that's a Khasi beat.
Yeah.
Shouldn't get stolen and then they'll be like, oh, this is my beat. Some guy in New York does it. They'll say, oh, I'm playing a Khasi beat. So then the people here also will get more, they'll get energy, they'll feel proud. So Daminot is about that. So great.
So, like you said, Daminot is a way of bringing out like Khasi traditions
Yeah.
to the world to make it more well known, and in other forms of art as well.
Yeah.
Right now, like you said earlier, we are in this era of
Yeah.
Renaissance.
Yeah.
We've got like filmmakers like Nicholas Kharkmar,
Yeah.
and we also have Dominic Sangma.
Yeah.
They're coming out of the state. They're
Yeah.
having
Huge.
famed
Yeah.
films, and we have writers like Kong Janice Marriott as well. They're, putting our culture, our
Yeah.
land on the map.
Stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's why I'm saying the world is hurt. I don't watch Hollywood movies anymore
Okay.
because I'm tired of seeing the streets of New York and LA and Cincinnati. I love watching all these some movie in Belgium or in Turkey. We've seen and heard enough of the same thing, but we've watched so many Korean movies. Even I'm getting tired now. Although I love. So now the stories that are told from here, the world is just waiting for it. Like they want to know. They want to know. They think they also don't know that we exist. The Northeast.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, "What? That place is like totally its own universe." So yeah. Earlier it was, I think. Now people are proud. That's my story. So what? I always say this. Before, when we were growing up, we used to think like, oh, the world should be like big buildings. In Delhi, you want to be like a city and like Bombay. Now, no one. Those guys want to come and live in a nice living root bridge with a room, they'll be damn happy to come there as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection. You know, and the world is not looking at building skyscrapers anymore. They're like, oh, how do you preserve? And who is the best at preservation? The Khasis. They've been doing it for 6,000 plus years. And the world will come here and say, please teach me how to preserve. That's also. So, yeah, it's about, that search. You have to search.
Yeah.
Search, and there's so much to find out here. So, Daminot is a little contribution to that.
So, like you said, that we're kind of sick of watching movies where, we see Robert De Niro walk down the streets of New York. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it's time to finally see someone walk through the streets
Yeah,
of
walk in
like
Molai or
Calcutta.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
A guy from Molai, he's walking in the 80s with his boots and leather jacket. And
Maybe instead of like a Bob Dylan biopic, we'll have a Doom Chow biopic in
yeah,
a few years.
that should definitely happen. I keep saying the guys in Molai I grew up with were more rock and roll than the punks of Brooklyn when I was in Brooklyn.
So yeah, I want to ask you a few questions about your life in college as well in St. Stephen's. So, this is kind of a rapid fire session. So, what is your most prominent memory in college?
My friends, I love my friends. I met so many amazing people. And playing music, yeah, that was it. I'm not very attached to college, but I'm very happy I went to St. Stephen's.
So, you mentioned that you stayed in Root
Yeah.
as well. So, how was your hostel experience?
It was really good actually because but again I only remember the people. I hated authority, like I hated too much discipline. So all this, like, you have to in college was like a little bit. Those days it was even worse. I think now it's like more relaxed. But eating in mess and then going to Kamla Nagar, right?
Yeah.
Then going to Chungtown. Now Chungtown is totally different now. Those days we used to go buy weed. It was in some alley. Just go. I love food, so my memories are food also. We go to Jam Masjid. For me, it's my friends, food, and music. That was like the experience. And then going to South Delhi once in a while. No metros those days. I used to have
Yeah.
my aunt's Contessa, big. I could fall apart anytime. You go to South Delhi, you go to this, I don't know if it's still there. Like, you go to someone's farmhouse, hang out with, like, you see like this whole different world of Delhi, and then go back to college. Like,
So, like right now, we're representing the Northeast Society of College. So, back in the day, did the college have any societies, and did you take part in any of them?
no, I didn't. But I don't think we had a Northeast society.
Yeah.
That was nice. I wonder how it is now. Back then it was very different. I look at things now. I think things have really gotten better. Like how people look at the Northeast. I think now everyone's like, "Oh, Northeast, no." So interesting. Those days we got into a lot of fights. Yeah. So it was a different. It's like, I think that's gone now. That whole like racial tension is much less now, and I think that's really nice because it's kind of irritating those days.
So yeah, like it's gone. It's very different now to times
Yeah.
which are like xenophobia does
Yeah.
exist in every part of the
Everywhere,
world.
even in New York, everywhere. Strangely, the only racism I faced in New York was from an African American and a South American. He was like, like, "Get out of my country, you Chinese, Vietnamese." I was like, "I'm Indian." He's like, "What?" He's like, anyway, that's just.
So yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of our interview. Thank you so much for talking to us, sir.
Yeah. Don't call me sir. Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
That was fun.